The rain clung to my skin like needles, each drop louder than my father's silence. "Walk," he said, eyes fixed on the steering wheel. 12 miles should teach you gratitude." I didn't argue. His truck taillight smeared red against the storm as he drove away, leaving me ankle-deep in mud. "My name is Clara Hayes. I'm 23. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned." I stood there shivering, arms wrapped around myself, staring at the cracked gold key on my necklace. It was my mother's once. She used to say, "Keys don't just open doors. They decide who's welcome." Tonight, the metal felt heavier than ever. Have you ever had family cross your boundaries and call it love? Let me know in the comments. The rain blurred the road until I could barely see where it ended. I thought of the meals I'd skipped to cover his debts, the shifts I'd worked until sunrise, the lies I'd told myself. He'll see me one day, he'll see. Yet here I was, discarded like a lesson scribbled too lightly on chalk, washed away by the first storm. Headlights cut through the downpour. A black truck slowed, tires hissing on wet asphalt. For a second, my chest clenched. It looked like his. But when the door opened, it wasn't him. It was Evan, my bodyguard, calm as if he'd been waiting all along. His eyes locked on mine, unreadable, certain. And in that moment, I smiled. Because this was his last mistake. Evan didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't fuss, didn't flinch at the water dripping from my hair onto his leather seats. He just handed me a towel from the back and said, low and steady, "You're not walking home tonight." The hum of the engine felt louder than the storm as he pulled onto the empty road. I pressed the cracked key between my palms until it left a mark. My father thought leaving me stranded would break me, but all it did was sharpen the edge I'd been hiding for years. "Where to?" Evan asked, eyes fixed ahead. "Not home." The words came out before I thought. Home wasn't a place anymore. It was a battlefield where I never won. The wipers beat like a metronome, and with every swipe I remembered another debt I'd covered. Another time I'd been his insurance policy. The silence between me and Evan stretched, thick with things unsaid. "You still wear that perfume?" he asked suddenly, voice almost casual. It startled me. A decoy, or maybe a reminder of who I was before all this. I didn't answer. The air already smelled of rain and betrayal. We passed the diner where I used to wait tables, where Dad once walked in with his buddies and pretended not to know me. My stomach tightened. "You don't have to keep paying for him," Evan said quietly, almost reading my thoughts. The key grew hotter in my hand. For the first time, I believed him. And yet, a question echoed. What happens when a lesson turns back on the teacher? The rain softened into mist as the truck carved through back roads. My phone buzzed in my pocket, 3 missed calls from Dad. No messages, no apologies. Just control disguised as concern. I turned the screen face down, the glow staining my thigh like a secret I refused to open. Evan glanced at me. "You're quiet." "I've been quiet my whole life," I said, surprising even myself. The words tasted like rust, old but sharp. The cracked key on my necklace slipped from my fingers, swinging with the truck's motion. It glinted faintly in the dashboard light, and for a heartbeat, I imagined it slicing through the air, cutting clean through the years of manipulation. My mother used to kiss that key before leaving the house. My father had laughed at her. A charm won't save you. But maybe symbols weren't meant to save. Maybe they were meant to remind. We slowed near the edge of town, the neon flicker of a closed gas station painting us in red and blue. Evan parked, killed the engine. "You don't have to go back," he said, voice so calm it felt dangerous. "Where would I go?" He reached into the glove box, pulled out an envelope thick with papers. Options. Places your father can't touch. Accounts he doesn't know exist. The rain tapped gently on the roof, almost curious. My chest tightened as I held the envelope. For years I thought I had no exits. But maybe I had doors waiting, locked only until I chose the key. I didn't open the envelope right away. My fingers traced the seal, trembling not from cold, but from something heavier, fear mixed with possibility. Evan lit a cigarette, cracked the window. The ember flared, a small rebellion against the night. Smoke curled through the cab, sharp, familiar. My father hated the smell. That almost made me smile. Why now? I finally asked, why show me this tonight? Evan exhaled slowly, eyes on the rain-slick pavement. Because lessons work both ways. He thought he could abandon you without consequence. He forgot someone was watching. The word watching pressed into my chest. For years, I'd lived like an unpaid debt collector, bailing my father out of his vices, smoothing his messes. Always watched, never protected. And yet here was Evan, steady in the silence. I tugged the cracked key from my neck, held it up between us. She said, "This decides who's welcome." "And who isn't?" he finished. The gas station sign buzzed, then flickered out, leaving us in near darkness. My phone buzzed again. Dad's name lit the screen. I let it ring until it died. The sound felt like thunder fading. I slid the envelope open. Inside, bank statements, property deeds, signatures I recognized, mine, forged in my father's impatient scrawl. My throat tightened. "He used my name," I whispered. Evan's jaw clenched. "And now he's out of moves." The key cut into my palm. For the first time, I wasn't the lesson. I was the reckoning. The rain had stopped, but the world still glistened, pavement shining like wet glass, neon pooling in puddles. I spread the documents across my lap. Each page a bruise turned visible. Loans in my name. Debts I never agreed to. Property titles stripped clean of his own signature. My father hadn't just abandoned me in the storm. He had buried me in paper chains. The cracked key swung against my wrist as I read. I couldn't breathe, not from shock, but from the cruel familiarity of it. He hadn't trusted me with love, but he trusted me enough to be his scapegoat. "Evan," my voice cracked. "If this is true, he's ruined me." "No," he said firmly, turning in his seat. "It means you hold the proof to ruin him." The words landed like sparks in a dark room. I remembered the nights Dad mocked me for keeping receipts, calling me paranoid. The little box I kept under my bed, filled with pay stubs, signed notes, emails printed in secret. Suddenly they weren't just scraps. They were ammunition. "You knew," I said slowly, meeting Evan's eyes. "I prepared," he corrected, "because one day you'd need more than protection. You'd need power." A passing truck splashed through a puddle outside, the noise startling but fleeting. Inside the cab, silence thickened. The key pressed into my palm, and for once it didn't feel like memory. It felt like a weapon. And tomorrow he would learn who the lesson was for. Morning crept in pale and gray, the kind of light that makes everything look colder than it is. Evan parked a block from the courthouse, his silence heavy but steady. I sat with the cracked key clenched between my teeth like a vow, papers pressed against my chest. My phone buzzed again, 43 missed calls, 17 messages. "Come home. Don't do this. You're confused. I'll fix it." Lies dressed in urgency. "Ready?" Evan asked. I almost laughed. I've been ready since the night he told me I was a burden. We stepped into the courthouse, marble floors echoing under our feet. The air smelled faintly of bleach and old wood. A clerk looked up, startled at the sight of me drenched in determination rather than rain. I filed the documents. One by one, copies slid across the counter, each stamped with the authority my father thought I'd never claim. Fraud, forgery, debt transfer, his games inked into permanence. When I turned, I wasn't expecting him there, Dad leaning against the far wall, suit damp at the collar as if he'd raced. His eyes widened when he saw the envelope in my hands. "Clara," he said, voice low, almost pleading, "you don't understand. This will ruin us." "No," I replied, the key cool against my skin. "This will ruin you." For the first time he had no words, no commands. Just silence. and I realized silence could finally be mine too. He followed me out of the courthouse, steps echoing too close, too urgent. "Clara, wait." His voice cracked, desperation disguised as authority. "We can fix this, just come home. You're my daughter." I turned, rain clouds breaking above us, light scattering across the street like fractured glass. "I was your insurance policy, not your daughter." His face hardened. "You'll regret this. You think the court will protect you? Those debts will swallow you alive." Evan shifted closer, a silent wall between us. But I didn't need protection anymore. The key at my throat caught the sunlight, glowing like fire. I wrapped my fingers around it, steady. "You taught me to survive storms," I said softly. "You just forgot storms can wash things clean." He opened his mouth, then stopped. For the first time I saw it, fear not in me but in him. The kind of fear that comes when control slips through your fingers. A car passed, splashing water at our feet, breaking the moment. He stepped back, muttering, "You'll see. You'll see," but his voice was fading, smaller with every word. Evan opened the truck door for me. I paused, glancing once more at the man who had left me 12 miles from home, thinking abandonment was a lesson. It was just not the one he planned. Inside the cab, the silence felt different, lighter, alive. For the first time, I wasn't running from his shadow. I was walking toward my own light. The courthouse steps were behind me, but their weight lingered in my chest like a closing chapter. Evan drove without speaking, the low rumble of the engine steady as a heartbeat. I rested the cracked key in my palm, watching its edges catch the light. It no longer felt like a relic of my mother's warnings. It felt like mine. At home, I didn't go inside right away. I stood at the gate, listening to the wind push gently through the trees. No thunder, no rain. Just quiet. A kind of quiet that didn't demand silence, it offered it. My phone vibrated once more, Dad's name flashing. I let it ring, then slid it into the mailbox slot, out of reach. That was my final answer. Inside, I placed the envelope of stamped documents on the table and set the key beside it. Proof of what was stolen. Proof of what I had reclaimed. Tomorrow the lawyers would begin their work. Tomorrow his lesson would echo back on him, not as vengeance, but as consequence. I touched the key one last time and hung it by the door. No longer heavy, no longer cracked. It was whole because I finally was. Have you ever taken back the power someone swore you'd never have? I whispered into the empty room. If so, you know this feeling. Evan leaned in the doorway, arms folded, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "You're free now," he said. And for once, I believed it.